Let's take you back to our top story this morning because it is Tuesday and it's the 5th of January and England is back in lockdown this morning for at least the next 7 weeks, with all of us being told once again to stay at home.
Yep, the new restrictions include the closures of schools and colleges. Scotland has also imposed a lockdown, which means all 4 nations now have similar restrictions.
The Prime Minister has been talking about the fact that the weeks ahead will be the hardest yet. And in terms of who we've spoken to on the programme today, we spoke to Sir Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats. You spoke to Sir Keir Starmer at 7:15 this morning. We also spoke to the Cabinet Minister, Michael Gove, at around 7:30. And this is what he had to say to us.
We felt that the only thing that we could do, it was with the heaviest of hearts.
So much of what depends, the timings of all this depends on the vaccine rollout. We spoke to Sir Keir Starmer about that as well on the programme.
Accelerate that. That is a huge challenge.
I spoke to the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, this morning as well. And one of the other, I suppose, the important things we've done today is we've tried to answer so many of your questions that you've been vaccination programme about the fact that nurseries are still open, some of the questions about school exams and things like that, and also about how transmissible the virus is and where hopefully we will be a few weeks and possibly months down the road.
And I know that you all have your own questions, so things that we do know that are happening. For example, we are expecting a bit later about what support there might be out for Bickley. Gavin Williamson, we understand, is going to be talking to some of those. You know, you'll hear more from all of them, and some of your other questions will be answered as well. Yeah,
that was one of the points that Michael Gove was making, wasn't it, when we were asking him about education?
As you know, if you watch this programme, we also try and bring you a little bit of light relief.
According to plan, about people sticking to the rules, about our understanding of the virus not changing significantly. So although there is that aspiration to start opening schools and society again around the 17th of February, it's an aspiration, it's not a guarantee.
Nick, thank you very much indeed for that. And we are talking about this, of course, throughout the programme this morning. We've got the Cabinet Office Minister, Michael Gove, at 7:30. And shortly, actually, we're going to be speaking to the Labour leader as well, Sir Keir Starmer, on this
Before we speak to the Labour leader, let's take you to Scotland, because mainland Scotland has also entered a new lockdown.
No, they welcome lots of calls into their shows all the time. Do tune in via the BBC Sounds app, your smart speaker, or on 94.9 FM. I'm back in an hour.
Hello, good morning. Watching Breakfast with Louise and Dan.
Let's get you right up to date with the very latest at 7:30. And the Prime Minister has announced a new national lockdown in England to stop the rising spread of coronavirus.
The new restrictions include the closures of schools and colleges, and people are only allowed to leave home for limited reasons. Scotland has also imposed a lockdown, which means all 4 nations now have similar restrictions in an effort to slow down the surging cases. And
we are due to speak to Michael Gove about all of that shortly. In other news, police have arrested a Scottish MP after exactly that's what we're doing. In the meantime, though, we are going to find out what is happening in the sport. And I think there is somewhere, isn't there, Kat? Morning.
There is sport. So, in contrast to March, when our TV screens were empty and there was nothing to entertain us on the sporting field, elite sport will continue. So there will be football, there will be rugby, there will be cricket, there will be stuff for us to watch on the telly. We won't be able to play sport necessarily ourselves, though. So this lady here with her incredible Rafael Nadal-style whipped forehand follow-through, she won't be able to go onto the tennis courts in England, I'm afraid, for the foreseeable future. Yes, morning, everyone. Sri Lanka. So fingers crossed we'll see some Test cricket there in the next few weeks.
Kat, thank you very much. Thank you.
On Breakfast this morning, we've already spoken to the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, the leader of the Labour Party, Sir Keir Starmer. Let's speak now to the Cabinet Office Minister, Michael Gove, who joins us live on the programme. Good morning, Mr Gove. Really good to talk to you this morning. We've had lots of questions and queries and concerns from our viewers. We'll try and get through some of those this morning.
People facing very, very difficult circumstances. We all, as a country, are facing an NHS crisis. That those that we love can be effectively cared for. But the instructions are, and of course, we hope that we do vaccines which are effective, but the government will be doing everything that we can to...
A short space of time, particularly around schools. We went from, there is no doubt in my mind, the Prime Minister said yesterday in the morning that schools are safe, to in the evening them being vectors of the virus. Can you explain what caused that change of language?
The country had to move to level 5, the highest level of alert, which meant that there was an imminent danger to the NHS, we felt that the only thing that we could do was to close those primary schools which were open, and we wanted to keep schools open as much as possible. With clear evidence, we had to act.
We were talking to Sir Ed Davies, I mentioned about this about 45 minutes ago on the programme. And on the issue of lockdowns, his quote was that he said, "This Prime Minister is always late on lockdowns. He puts off difficult decisions until the very last minute, and he refuses and ignores the advice of experts."
Who've been clear throughout that one of the things that it's important to try to do is to make... But when the evidence is clear that then we will. And we always make sure that we put the NHS first.
Of what will replace that, and what is your idea? What are your plans this morning?
They've acquired, the skills that they've developed can be, properly rewarded. Son who's doing GCSEs, there are ways in which we can ensure that they can be appropriately assessed in the most disadvantaged circumstances, who find it inevitably because of their circumstances.
Concerns that parents have based on what we saw, the mess around assessments last year. And
well, that is precisely the challenge. We can get the most accurate assessment possible, supported and fairly assessed in those particular settings where education's been most disrupted.
Are you looking at extra help for some of those children who are struggling to have access to laptops and
vouchers and so on to help children to get the best education they can? To take this opportunity to say thank you to our teachers who've been through a lot.
Stay at university if you've gone back.
People should stay in the location that they are in at the moment. The home or flat that you're in at the moment is where you should stay.
Do you think that, on that, and I suppose more broadly, Mr.
Evidence suggests that the overwhelming majority of people in the country understand why we need to reduce the rate of infection. As the Prime Minister informed us last night, there are more than 26,000 people for those who need it most. But is it easy? Of course not. God, no. It's to work with the NHS to vaccinate people.
I suppose the big difference this time round is, as you mentioned, the vaccination programme. Could you give in terms of how many people we are able to vaccinate this week?
Well, we know that we've vaccinated, I think, 1 million people up until the weekend. We're increasing the numbers this week, and figures are absolutely robust. And we need to make sure that we're able and people in social care
have to be up to speed, as has been promised, of 2 million a week very quickly. And yet again, the Health Secretary was talking yesterday about concerns about logistics, about the supply system, about safety checks, about vials. What is being done to make sure?
Making sure that the vaccines can be placed in the appropriate vials, and the best public servants in the world working in our NHS, and in other ways, we're seeking to reach as many people as possible as quickly as possible. Let
me quickly read you this comment from Stuart, who's got in contact with us today. He says, can you guarantee to him and to many others that you are not over-promising on the vaccine?
The vaccine rollout has gone well, thanks to them in the work that they do. So yes, there is a responsibility on all of us, and we will do everything we can in order to support.
Weeks and months ahead.
Well, there is already support in place.
Is there going to be?
Just going to make the point, yes. The level of support that the Chancellor has given is among the most generous of any Western country.
What about the issue of international travel? Is there at some point where you're going to insist on a negative test for people coming into the UK? Is that something you're looking at?
And of course, as I think people know, the Prime Minister's clear message last night was vital reasons why people should travel, commercial reasons to make sure our ports and airports are as safe as possible.
I've got 2 more questions if I can, Mr. Gove. I know you've got a very busy morning, but...
Well, we believe that it's important to continue to provide work is so vital to getting us out of this lockdown, but the greatest respect for those who work in this has always got to be struck to make sure that childcare settings are safe.
Michael Gove, I've got to let you go, but appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Not at all, thank you.
And very much, you're watching Breakfast. I'm sure lots of you will have been watching that. We're all trying to glean information, aren't we, as well? And we know, for example, he's saying on that question you asked about additional support for businesses, for example, that the Chancellor will give more details on that today. And also Gavin Williamson will update the Commons tomorrow about what's going on with schools as well. So there is so much more information to come, but we'll try and keep you across all the changes as they happen.
Yeah, and those promises on vaccination numbers as well. Michael Gove was talking there about those promises of trying to vaccinate 13 million people by the middle of next February. And you were speaking to Matt Hancock yesterday about some of those logistical supply issues. And that is going to be the great challenge, isn't it, of the next few weeks?
We'll talk about all of those things throughout the programme. Carol has got a lovely picture here. And
starts Thursday at 9 on BBC One and iPlayer.
0.9 FM. Bye for now.
on Breakfast, Death in Paradise shortly.
Yes, you're watching BBC Breakfast. It is 8:59.